Is the note of cherry only restricted to women's fragrances? Well, let's see what these two masculine options have to say about that. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel, today we're talking fragrances, and this is a first impression comparison between Tom Ford's Cherry Smoke and Clive Christian's Jump Up and Kiss Me Hedonistic. In this format, I compare and give my first impressions on two fragrances, usually in sample form, that I chose to cover a specific topic. This is not a fragrance battle. We're not here to decide which of the two fragrances is better than the other one. We're here to talk about the work experience and to open the conversation. Earlier today, given the fact that I knew that I was going to be filming a first impression comparison video, I was going through my giant list of sample pairings trying to get inspiration. I was looking at the fragrances and seeing what would stick to my eyes. And when my eyes fell on Cherry Smoke, I decided that it was finally time to go the cherry route. I've had a little bit of a craving for cherry fragrances lately, and I'm sure that these two will satisfy them. Today, again, we're going to be comparing a high-end Tom Ford, a Tom Ford that I've always wanted at that, and a Clive Christian. This one is also another one of those fragrances which is high on my purchase list. I first smelled this a couple months ago in a shop and I immediately knew I wanted it. Then the reality hit me, the reality of the price of this. This is an insanely expensive fragrance and I just shelved that idea. Later down the road, I purchased a sample of it. Here it is. And I just kind of forgot about it because this was one of many samples that I purchased. So here we are today. I'm about to redeem myself. I'm pretty sure that I'll love both of these fragrances. I can't wait to throw them on skin. As many of you may know, the House of Tom Ford is near and dear to my heart. Without the House of Tom Ford, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here talking about fragrances in the first place. It all started out with ombre leather. When I first smelled that, I was completely blown away. At the time, it really put perfumery into perspective for me. It really showed me what perfumery could be with a little bit more creativity and a little bit more edginess. Ombre leather is a fragrance that I really hold dear to my heart. And it's really weird because I don't even have a bottle of it right now. I gave it away before starting the YouTube channel. I thought that I was transitioning away from it. But you know what? I'm so attached to it that just might end up being the one bottle that I will be repurchasing. And this is despite my non-repurchasing policy. I do not repurchase fragrance that I get rid of. That one there is so symbolic to me, I just might have to do it. As I was starting out in fragrances, going a little bit deeper, doing a little bit more research, I finally discovered the existence of the Tom Ford Private Blend. And I was immediately hooked. I was immediately mesmerized. All of the fragrances from that line look super unique, very creative, and I couldn't wait to get my nose on them. Unfortunately, they were also incredibly expensive, so much so that I kind of gave up on the idea and I just kept on lusting over them. The fragrance that I definitely lusted over the most was Lost Cherry. Throughout my life, I always liked and I always was attracted to the smell and to the note of cherry, especially to a very specific type of cherry. I like the artificial cherry of Kool-Aid. I like the artificial cherry of candy, of a popsicle, of soft drinks. I just like that artificial metallic, sour, very fresh and invigorating cherry. And when I finally smelled Tom Ford's Lost Cherry at an airport counter, I immediately knew that fragrance was the one for me. Despite it leaning a little bit feminine, it was dense, it was rich, it was creamy, it was sour, very candy-like. It had that artificial Kool-Aid feeling that I really like about cherry notes. Fast forward in time, I took that note of cherry and set it aside, maybe even deeming it too feminine. This was also a time where I started getting into more heavy notes, more darker notes, like woods, like leathers, like ouds, like spices, and I just kind of forgot about cherry. But in the back of my head, that interest, that passion, that drive towards cherry lived on. And today I'm very excited to be finally smelling two fragrances which are, at least on paper, two great masculine takes on the cherry note. The other fragrance that I'm going to be smelling today is the Clive Christian Jump Up and Kiss Me Hedonistic. This is a mouthful of a fragrance. And again, I've tried this a while back, a couple months back, and I was immediately mesmerized. I don't have a huge amount of experience with the House of Clive Christian. The fragrances are very expensive and difficult to get, especially here in Switzerland. I think that the only feature of Clive Christian on my YouTube channel is in this first impression comparison where I compare Crabapple Blossom to Versace Pour Homme or something like that. In that video, I specifically remember really not liking Clive Christian. I actually quite bashed the house. Since then, I smelled a lot more stuff from the house and I have to fully admit I was completely wrong about the brand. Yes, Crabapple Blossom is still not my favorite favorite fragrance. I still do not like it. It smells synthetic. It smells unbroxy. It just smells cheap. But Clive Christian as a whole has so many hidden gems in the catalog, so much great stuff. This one here is definitely one of those. The other ones that stood out are 1872, which was really great, and another one that I really liked was probably Blonde Amber, and then there was one of the letters, I think it was C. C was really good. But today we're going to be smelling Jump Up and Kiss Me Hedonistic, which is part of a different exclusive lines of blue bottles with other vices or something like that. I'm not really sure what's going on. This one here though is the one that I was attracted to because it's cherry. Before we get into it, let me just very quickly remind you how this format works. I'll be spraying these two fragrances first on a strip, smelling the strip, giving my impressions upon the opening on paper, then spraying these two directly on skin, left and right arm, and talking about the very first opening, giving my very first impressions. At this point, I'll also be talking about my experience with the houses. I did a little bit of that, but maybe I have something to add. Then I'll be stepping back, coming back after about 2 to 3 hours, talking about the Drydown, giving my impressions on the forecasted longevity, use cases, value for money, and all that comes with it. So I'm very, very excited. Let's get right into this. All right, let's start off with Cherry Smoke. As I said before, I really love the House of Tom Ford. Within the designer brands, it's one of those brands that is so creative, so unique. All of the fragrances have their unique imprint, and they don't really smell like anything else on the market. This one here, I'm hoping is gonna really blow me away with its uniqueness. Let's see what this is all about. So this is an official sample, and it looks like a crap sample. I'm not really sure where this is coming from. I've had this for a long time and I've never sprayed it. Unfortunately, I'm also noticing that this sample has one of the terrible atomizers, so I hope it works, especially given the fact that I've been holding on to this for a long time. Hopefully it's not clogged up. This video might be canceled if that is the case. Let's give it some sprays here. Oh, okay. It kind of works. Very, very cherry forward. It's that exact cherry that I like. It's that artificial synthetic Kool-Aid cherry. Very interesting. Wow. I knew I would like this. I knew Tom Ford would not disappoint with their cherry. Again, it's not for everyone. It's a very specific, very fruity, very fun sort of cherry, but I love it so much. I would not probably wear this many times throughout the year, but when I would want a crave cherry, this is exactly a thing that I want. Interestingly enough, I'm not really picking up on much smokiness. Obviously, Tom Ford is a designer brand. I'm not really expecting much edginess, not too crazy at least, so I'm not too surprised, but I'm not really sure what I was expecting. Maybe something along the lines of Lorenzo Bazzaglia's Cherry Ink. That one there does not necessarily have an ink note. It has more of a white wispy incense note. This white smoke, which is very fluffy and very enveloping. This is quite airy, quite light. I'm not really getting much of the smoky component, but I do perceive some sort of a base beneath the cherry, behind the cherry. Front and center is that cherry. That cherry is definitely the protagonist though. I like it because this cherry in here comes across as very ripe. It's a big, dark black cherry, one of those sour tart ones, which is also incredibly candied. Really, really beautiful stuff. Yeah, pretty simple and straightforward. I like it, but I'm hoping it develops a little bit more on skin though. Well, let's try the Clive Christian. So the Clive Christian, this one here is a decant that I got off a decant site. I can't remember exactly where. Let's give it one spray. Much, much better sprayer. Wow, completely different take on cherry. For whatever reason, maybe my memory was hazy on this, but I was expecting to have the same sort of cherry note. This is very different, very, very different. This fragrance is much, much lighter, much more fresh, much more airy. You can definitely pick up on the cherry note, but it's a much more subdued, much more natural smelling cherry. It's not that over-the-top candy, Kool-Aid cherry. This is a much more realistic sort of cherry note. There's also a little bit of a floral component in here, which is definitely aiding the cherry realism. This is so much brighter. It's incredible how different these two fragrances smell one to another. I'm completely blown away. By the way, I really like this thing. It's really, really good. This smells so much more complex. It smells so much more refined, like there's so much more detail in it, so many more nuances to uncover. Really beautiful stuff. It's a little bit weird. Neither of these two fragrances really comes across as masculine, especially on paper. Maybe they need skin application to really bring in some warmth and to really show their true colors. Let's go back to Cherry Smoke for a sec. The cherry note in here is really amazing. It just brings a smile to my face. I just can't help it. It's so artificial, so candy-like. I was expecting to get a lot more darkness, especially going back to this from the Hedonistic, but not really. I mean, it's darker, it's richer, it's denser, but it's not smoky at all. There's a little bit of a wood note in the background, but not too much. All right, I'll be saving these two strips because we're going to be sampling them in the Drydown to see how they fare on paper/clothes. Again, paper is a good indication of how the fragrances will fare on clothes. All right, time to spray on skin. I'll be spraying the Tom Ford on my left arm. Let's give it a go. I'm not really sure how much I'll be spraying, maybe 3 sprays. It's pretty bad, but not too bad. I was expecting a lot worse from these crappy atomizers, especially because this one here is even crooked. So I guess I'm lucky. Wow, I'm really picking up on the cherry in the air. These scents project a lot. Here we go. We have the smoky notes. Now, the smoky note is much more present on my skin. My skin tends to darken everything up. It just adds a lot of density. It adds a lot of basiness to the scents. This one here smells completely different off my skin. Now I'm getting a distinct smoky note. It's a little bit rubbery. It smells a little bit like smoldering burnt plastic. It's very distinctive. It has this latexy sort of smell. It almost smells like a doll's head. It almost smells like a doll or something like a... It reminds me of the latex note in Imitation Man or the vinyl note. It has this very specific plasticky component which I'm not a huge fan of. The burntness in here is delicate, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of an ashtray. It's like when a cigarette has been smoked too far and the filter is starting to burn. It has that plasticky rubberiness to it. I can't explain it in any other way. And I'm not a smoker. This is all secondhand experience. And I always hated the smell of very pungent cigarettes, just like smoked to the butt. The cherry is still there, very vivid. It's the same type of cherry. It smells like cherry Kool-Aid, very artificial, very bright, very zingy. It's so saturated, so colorful, so zingy. Really interesting. I actually don't mind this at all, despite this burnt latex note. This cherry combined with the smokiness works surprisingly well. Now, I have to say that this is not necessarily super masculine to me. It comes across as very much like... I don't know why, because it doesn't smell exactly the same, but it kind of reminds me of Aaron Terrence Hughes' Cunt. And that one there had that leathery, smoky, floral thing going on. And this kind of smells like that. It smells like a fragrance that a woman would wear, like a woman on a night out, on a club night out, or some sort of a dirty hotel sort of vibe. I don't want to go too much into details because it might turn a little bit too sexual and graphic, but this is a very sexy, sexualized fragrance in my opinion, and it's not necessarily too masculine. Yes, the smokiness is there, but it's a strange smokiness. It smells like a delicate cigarette. It smells like one of those cigarettes that you hold with the holder thing. For whatever reason, I'm getting that sort of image. And this cherry note, which is combining with this smell resembling burnt cigarette, is kind of giving me dirty lipstick sort of vibe. I'm not really sure why. I'm also picturing a fake fur coat. It's a very strange sort of imagery, not very masculine at all. I was expecting a lot more oud, a lot more woodiness, a lot more smokiness. This is not that. It's a very particular scent. I do like it. I do find it very interesting. But it's not at all what I was expecting. Okay, on to the Clive Christian on my right arm. This one here is a much better sprayer. Let's give it 2 sprays. Yes, this one here also develops massively on my skin. I'm so happy about it. This is amazing. I really like it. Wow. Now I totally remember why I was almost pulling out my credit card to purchase this when I first smelled it in that shop a couple months ago. It's that good. It's really, really good. It's so complex, so rich. As good as it is, it's over 500 bucks at retail. I'm glad I didn't purchase it that day. I looked it up on discounters and it's not easy to find, but when it does appear, it still is above 350 bucks. So very, very expensive. I still very much like it though, and I really, really want it. It's that good. It's so much fresher than the cherry smoke. It's really, really staggering. The difference is mind-blowing. This one here doesn't really come across as a cherry fragrance, like a pure cherry fragrance, as much as cherry smoke does. Cherry smoke is first and foremost a cherry fragrance. Anyone, even non-frag enthusiasts, could easily point that out. This one here, Hedonistic, is a little bit more of a concoction based on cherry. And despite the cherryness in here, to my nose at least, being very, very vivid, it's not cherry forward, it's not cherry front and center. It's a cherry with things around it. A lot of florals, a lot of woods, very, very beautiful. It has a little bit of a fruity concoction to it, which is different from the cherry. It's maybe plum or some other sort of a ripe, smooth fruit that is a little bit detracting from the sourness of that cherry. Really pretty though. The thing that really pushes off my skin the most, in my opinion, is some sort of floral. It almost feels like a cherry blossom. It's probably not a cherry blossom, but it does feel like that because it's a floral with this heavy cherryness in it, which is kind of like just combining into one thing like a cherry blossom. In the base, I'm getting a little bit more woodiness, but it's not in your face. It's so delicate. It's so much more of a base note, which is balancing out the fragrance as a whole. It doesn't feel like a separate note that is fighting for attention. It just feels like a supporting note. Really pretty stuff. Again, this is high quality perfumery. Clive Christian is basically top tier quality perfumery. It's probably one of the best British brands out there, and all of the fragrances are known to be extremely high end, extremely high tier. This one here definitely smells like that. And I'm sorry to say, I really don't want to upset any fans, but Crabapple Blossom in comparison smells extremely cheap. This is so good. I've been smelling my arm for the past 10-15 seconds straight. I can't get my nose off it. And despite this fragrance not necessarily having that cherry that I like, that artificial sour, Kool-Aid-like cherry, that candied cherry, this fragrance comes across as absolutely amazing. It's so gorgeous. It's so well put together, so complex. I feel that the more you would wear this, the more you would start picking up on details. Absolutely amazing stuff. In comparison, cherry smoke, despite coming across as very exciting because it's very bold and fun, and despite coming across as quite weird because I'm still getting those images of dirty lipstick, it does come across as a little bit thin and compressed. And I don't mean thin and light and airy because this is very dense, it's very heavy, but thin as in paper thin, like not layered, like not refined. It's a lot less complex. It's a lot more cheap smelling. It's like comparing two different songs. The Tom Ford is this pop song, which is a little bit distorted. It's playing off these rusty speakers from this piece of crap car, and the whole car is kind of shaking with the bass of the speakers, while the Clive Christian is like a live orchestra. It's so beautiful, so fine nuance. It's completely different in vibe. I do like them both. I really do like the vibe of both, but gun to my head, if I were to have to purchase one right now, it would be without hesitation the Clive Christian. But it's time for me to take a break. I need to get up, I need to walk around, I need to aerate this room, I need to edit some videos. I'll be back in about a couple hours or something like that. Alright, I'm back. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes. I have a lot of good things to say about these two fragrances. They project a lot. Beautiful sillage around me, despite not spraying too much. The scents themselves are absolutely amazing. I really like both of them. I do lean still a little bit more towards the Clive Christian, but we'll get to that in a sec. Before diving into my conclusions on the Drydown on skin, which is arguably the most important thing, let's go back to the strips. This one here is Cherry Smoke. And it smells relatively similar. So it's weird because on strip, especially compared to my experience on skin in the opening, the smokiness is almost absent. This is a straight up cherry scent. And even now, after about 2 hours of dry down, the strip still smells relatively the same. Very, very stable. So I'm assuming that on close, this will come across as very cherry-like. It still has that beautiful cherryness that I like, that very artificial Kool-Aid cherry, that candied cherry. But for whatever reason, I'm kind of smelling the paper, and it's not because it's paper per se, because this is pretty inert. I think it's the smokiness that is kind of giving me this dirty paper sort of smell. It kind of smells like an old newspaper. Really, really interesting. In order to pick up any weirdness, you really have to get your nose on this. I feel that if you would wear this on clothes, it would come across as very beautiful, very powerful, very cherry-like, fairly straightforward, not too impressive in that regard. I wouldn't necessarily go to Tom Ford, specifically towards the private blend of Tom Ford with their price tag for something like this. If I were to spray on clothes, probably I would go with a little bit more of a cheaper clone of this or something like that. I like it though. I still much prefer it on skin. The Clive Christian, on the other hand, is absolutely beautiful on strip. It comes across as even more fresher than it is on skin. On skin, it develops beautifully, becomes darker, richer, with so much more details and fine nuances. Off strip, it smells completely different. The whole scent profile is kind of like shifted up in the tonal range a couple notches. It's so much more light, so much more airy. It smells like the most beautiful fluffy towel out there. It's still super complex. You can definitely pick up on a lot of stuff in there, especially the florals. The florals, the cherries, and the top notes. A lot of the base is pretty much absent off strip. Really pretty. And I'm so impressed how different the thing smells on skin and on strip. You could probably use it in two completely different scenarios. Like you would spray it on clothes during the day and you would spray it on skin during the night and have the same sort of vibe, but it would add so much more richness, so much more density, so much more darkness. Again, maybe it's just my skin though. But now for the most important part, let's smell the fragrances in the Drydown on skin. The Tom Ford is absolutely beautiful. I really like the Drydown of cherry smoke on skin. You lose all of that bitterness, you lose all of that burnt plasticness that was in the opening. Those weird smells of dirty lipstick and burnt cigarette butts are completely gone. The scent became much more smoother. The cherry note is front and center, and it seamlessly blends in the background. A background made of woods. There's also a little bit of a slight oud component. And again, this is a very westernized oud. It's a very Tom Ford oud. But it has this weird funkiness to it. It's a little bit medicinal, very beautiful. It also smells a little bit more ashy in a way. It's like the smoke has burnt down to something and it feels clean. It smells clean, but it smells dense. It has this echo to it. It has this reverb to it. It's incredible how before the scent smelled like a super compressed pop song, and now the scent opened up completely. It has so much more airiness, so much more reverb, so much more complexity. It just expanded upon the tone range. It doesn't feel as cheap. It doesn't feel as simple. Really beautiful stuff. And on another really positive note, this scent really projects a lot. You can easily smell it in the air. It's so beautiful, so clean smelling, yet refined, yet it has this aura and hint of dirtiness. Really cool, really edgy. I really like this Tom Ford. Now, would I buy it at retail? No. It's not that kind of like. It's not a love. But I still do really like it. I still do really appreciate it. The opening is actually now even more valuable to me because it's not the whole scent profile. It opens up weird. It opens up that weird feminine sort of aggressive vibe with that latexness. And in the Drydown, that is completely gone. It smells nothing like Lost Cherry. It has none of that gourmand aspect, none of that booziness. It does kind of remind me a little bit of the Lorenzo Vazzaglia Cherry Ink, but that one there in comparison is so bland, it's so mono-directional, so one-dimensional. It's really bland in comparison. Cherry smoke, awesome scent. Onto the Clive Christian, which is in my opinion the star of the show. So before talking about the scent profile in the Drydown, which is absolutely gorgeous, I just want to touch upon the projection because it had a very strange curve to it. It was very unexpected. After about 20 minutes to 30 minutes after spraying, the fragrance was pretty much gone. And I was like, well, the projection of this is absolute crap. And I was so disappointed because I really liked the scent profile. But for whatever reason, maybe I was anosmic to a part of the scent. But the fragrance itself really came back out of nowhere. It came back with a vengeance. Now it's really powerful. I can still smell it a lot around me. Even as I'm moving my arm like this, I'm engulfed in this beautiful, delicate sillage. The scent profile, as I was saying before, is absolutely gorgeous in the Drydown. I like it a little bit more in the opening. You get a little bit more of that fruity cherryness, but in the Drydown, this cherry just sinks in the tonal range. and it blends with whatever's in the bottom. I can't really describe what's in the bottom. I can't really pick anything apart. I've looked at the notes list and it's absolutely massive for Hedonistic, so I'm not really into that. But what I'm getting in general is a beautiful, delicate woodiness with a little bit of a hint of leatheriness. I'm not really sure if leather is in there. I really can't remember, but it comes across as like this beautiful, clean leather, like this most supple, luxurious piece of leather ever. It smells like the most high quality and thin leather gloves out there. And I specifically said thin because it doesn't really smell rugged. It's not like a thick piece of leather. It's a very luxurious, supple piece of leather. And the thinner it is, the softer it is. And this smells soft. It doesn't smell gritty or rough at all. There's no animalics in here whatsoever. It just comes across as super luxurious and incredibly well designed. I'm so impressed still by the level of complexity, by the level of detail. It feels that you can zoom into the scent infinitely and just keep on picking up stuff. Really, really amazing. Congrats to Clive Christian. This is a masterpiece of perfumery. It has so much nuance, so much detail, and I do feel that this would really change according to temperature, humidity, according to what you're wearing, almost according to your mood. It's an ever-changing fragrance. It's really, really good. I really like the Drydown. But it's time for conclusion time. I'm happy to report that these two fragrances are absolutely amazing. I really, really like them both. They have two completely different takes on cherry. One, the Tom Ford, is bold, it's fun, it's exhilarating, it's just very youthful, it's just very creative and super unique smelling. I really applaud the brand of Tom Ford because they always manage to deliver a unique take on the fragrance space, especially from a designer point of view. Tom Ford definitely cements itself as my favorite designer on the market. Now on to the Clive Christian. I really like this fragrance. It's pretty much impossible to fault. This is everything I was hoping it to be, unfortunately, because again, it's expensive and I'm gonna have to buy a bottle of this. So the House of Clive Christian really surprised me, especially with this fragrance. I'm super sorry of jumping to conclusions on my first impression preview of the Crabapple Blossom. That fragrance is still not for me. This one here is definitely for me. The House of Clive Christian is elegant, it's luxurious, it's high-end, high quality. This fragrance smells the part and definitely feels the part. It just comes across as so refined and luxurious. The cherry note in here is front and center, and despite not being my favorite cherry note out there, not that artificial Kool-Aid candied cherry, it's still very beautiful. And the most amazing thing about this is that the cherry note doesn't come across as vulgar or just too bold. It perfectly blends in with everything else. In the top, it blends in with the florals, giving you this beautiful cherry blossom sort of feeling. Very clean, very refined, so elegant. And in the bottom, the cherry just fades into the base, basically fading into the woods, giving these woods a little bit more fruitiness, a little bit more edginess. Really, really pretty. The leatheriness, which comes out in the Drydown, is also incredibly beautiful. So subtle, so elegant. Maybe again, it's the cherry aiding to this imagery, but the leather component in here just comes across as deep burgundy. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed my sampling, and tomorrow at work, I'll be definitely wearing probably half of this sample. It definitely comes across as mass appealing, likable. There's no chance in hell that you're going to be offending anyone with this scent. On the other hand, the Tom Ford is not necessarily something that I would wear at the office. It just comes across as very edgy, very characterful. It's very, very bold. It has this lipstick red feeling. It's so present, so vivid, and it's not necessarily something that I would want to smell like in the office. Also because again, the opening leans a little bit more feminine, or rather, it might not be feminine, but it definitely has an image related to femininity, which is not necessarily the same thing. I do like them both though. Super, super interesting take on both fragrances. Closing this off, I just want to touch upon some practicalities, mainly the longevity and the value for money. Performance-wise, my expectations are that these two fragrances would not be completely beast mode, but I would easily expect 6 to 7 hours of wear. Very solid wear with good projection. So I would not be worried about that. Price-wise, this is a little bit of a different story. These two fragrances are insanely expensive. The Tom Ford and the Clive Christian actually surprisingly retail for about the same. Well, actually not, because the Tom Ford would retail about $500. if you could find it, that is, for 100 ml. Hedonistic retails for $500 for 50 ml. Very expensive. I'm not really sure I'm ready to spend that kind of money on this, but I really, really want this scent, so I'll be keeping my eyes open at discounters. Both scents are absolutely amazing. I do recommend sampling them. They're so fun, they're so fresh, they're so different, and I'm really, really happy I got my nose on these. With my appetite for cherry fragrances not even close to be satiated, if you have any recommendation for a masculine cherry fragrance, please leave it down below. I'll be sure to get a sample. I'll be sure to get my nose on it. Until then, these two will serve just fine. I will be definitely draining these samples. Amazing stuff. I'm super happy I got the chance to smell these. These are absolutely great. Highly, highly recommended. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. It's never taken for granted. Many more first impression videos to come. I have so many other fragrance pairs to showcase. Until next time, see ya and cheers.